Welcome back to The Bible is Art, where we explore the literary artistry of the Bible. And in this week, we're going to look at the literary genius of the structure of Matthew's Gospel. There are many ways to organize a story, how to order the scenes into a whole. And if you want more of an explanation of the different ways to structure stories, you can see the video linked in the description and in the upper right hand of the screen. But we are going to talk about what Matthew does, and it's extraordinary. Matthew organizes his book into alternating sections of stories and teachings. And we know this not only because we see Jesus doing things and then having long speeches, but also because after each of the teaching sections, Matthew repeats the same phrase, when Jesus finished saying these things. And Matthew does this to indicate the end of each teaching section. In total, there are 5 teachings, 5 blocks of teachings. And Matthew does this because he's alluding back to the first section in the Bible, the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of Moses. And as we saw in the last video, the first sentence in Matthew alludes back to the book of Genesis. So also the arrangement of the whole of the book alludes back to the first section in the Bible, the 5 books of Moses. And this is because Jesus is bringing a whole new order of reality, a whole new kingdom, a whole new creation. And Matthew wants to highlight that by organizing his work in a similar way to the organization of the first books of the Bible. But wait, there's more. You see, these teachings of Jesus relate in interesting ways. The first and the 5th teaching both happen on a mountain. The Sermon on the Mount and what's traditionally called the Olivet Discourse. That is, Jesus was teaching on the Mount of Olives. And these teachings contrast. The Sermon on the Mount opens with 8 blessings, while the Olivet Discourse opens with 7 woes, kind of like cursings. The Sermon on the Mount will tell us what kind of people are in the kingdom Jesus is bringing, and the Olivet Discourse will tell us what kind of people are not in the kingdom. The 2nd and 4th teaching blocks are located on land in a town. That's where Jesus teaches. And both are about mission. In the 3rd teaching, chapter 13, Matthew makes it the structural center of the book. And there, Jesus teaches on the secrets of the kingdom. In that chapter, Jesus tells 8 parables that he says are about the secrets, the character of the kingdom Jesus is bringing. And it's fascinating because Jesus has told no parables up to chapter 13. You can see now how Matthew structured his whole gospel as a chiasm. And if you don't know what that is, I have a video about it with a link in the description. But it's simply a structure where the first scene or section in the book corresponds to the last section, and the second scene corresponds to the second to last section, and so on and so forth until you get to a central section. And that central section is typically a turning point of the story, or emphasis, or both. Now, when you first see this structure, you might think that it looks like a mountain, like structurally. And that's a good guess because Matthew emphasizes mountains. He actually has 7 of them in his gospel because one of the themes in Matthew's gospel is that Jesus is a new Moses, leading his people, giving them a new law from the mountain, like the Sermon on the Mount. And there's also many other fascinating parallels between Jesus and Moses that we'll look at in another video. But I actually don't think that that's what Matthew is trying to communicate with this structure, this literary organization. I think he's actually doing the opposite. Let me show you what I mean. To understand what Matthew is doing, we have to look at the geographical movements in Jesus' teaching. Remember, there are 5 blocks of Jesus' teaching. In this chapter, the central chapter, chapter 13, Jesus delivers his parables on the water. So the geographical movement of Jesus' teachings are from a mountain down to a town, down to the water, then back up to a town, and back up to a mountain. So why does Matthew structure his geography this way? Notice, it is the opposite movement of a mountain. Not starting low, going high, then going low, but starting up high, descending down to the lowest point, and then back up. Mountain, sea, mountain. And the ingenious reason why Matthew does this is because Jesus' geographical movement mirrors his great final climactic action in Matthew's gospel. That is, his going down into death and coming out into resurrection. Life, death, life. Matthew's gospel has already established the associations of water and death and mountains with glorified life. Jesus was baptized, symbolically drowned. And on the Mount of Transfiguration, he was transfigured. He was shown to be glorious, exalted. So Matthew communicates Jesus' central act in the very architecture of his book. But wait, there's even more. You see, it's fascinating that when you read Matthew chapter 13, the chapter where Jesus descends to the water, you read the parables, Jesus tells us the reason why he's speaking in parables. Jesus says that he speaks in parables for 2 reasons. First, to hide, and second, to show, to reveal. For the people who don't accept him, the parables hide the truth. They make it unclear. But for those who do trust in him and his works, the parables reveal the secrets of the kingdom, what this kingdom is like. And this is also true with Jesus' final climactic action, his death. It is unintelligible. It looks like a failure to those who don't accept him. But for those who do trust him, who have been listening to him, they see, it's revealed to them that it provides the very secret of the kingdom. Jesus' descent into death and resurrection is the grand secret of the kingdom. So the genius of Matthew's organization of his great work is that he communicates the central message in its very form and structure. That is, this last king of Israel will go down into death and come back out, conquering it. And that is the secret of the kingdom. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you would like to support the channel, that would be wonderful. You can do so at patreon.com/thebibleisart. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will try my best to answer them if I know the answer. Thanks.